look at this. Wow. Crazy. Look at the smoke. Look right in here. See the smoke column? Right there. The smoke column right there.
War has started. I don't normally like to be hyperbolic or be over dramatic. And of course, there's already stuff going on in the world when it comes to Ukraine and Russia. I mean, we just got reports that Russia just delivered 1,200 of Ukraine's fallen soldiers back to them. And we had stuff going on with Pakistan and India, which seems to kind of have calmed down a little bit. There's proxy wars all over the Middle East, but some kinetic activity, which is actual and no longer like a figurative thing that we're talking about, is Israel striking Iran nuclear sites, doing targeted and in my opinion, skillful assassinations of key figureheads, especially in their science nuclear programs and their head of military, and basically vowing that they're never going to be allowed to have a nuclear weapon, which, although Israel has never admitted, the world believes that Israel has nuclear weapons. And I don't like nothing about Iran. All I'm just saying is, are you just going to tell everybody in the region who is and who is not allowed to have some stuff? But let's just check this out.
Overnight, Israel began military operations against Iran with a stated goal of...
Bro, they took off these jets from Israel, flew all the way to Iran and did some precision attacks. Now, that is, first off, a long mission, a lot of skills, a lot of things have to be kept secret. And I did a live stream last night when I was just like, how the heck did Iran not know this was coming?
Once and for all, destroying the Iranian nuclear program. Today we're going to get into what we know so...
Look at that flight. They're coming in across the region, going, that's Iran. They had to go over Iraq or Syria to get there, or a little bit of both.
Far as this campaign continues to play out, and that's important. This is not a series of a couple strikes. This is going to be a sustained military campaign for hours, days, maybe even weeks.
And that's the thing. That's the thing that has me concerned. It can be weeks. It could be days. Here's some key areas of tension. So first off, the nuclear program itself. Iran's nuclear program remains a central point of contention. So Israeli views are that Iran could never have a nuclear weapon. It is not allowed, something that they do not want them to have, and they want to curb their nuclear aspirations. And any ambition that they may have had to have that enriching uranium and stuff like that, they are not trying to hear it. They don't want anything to want it. So they decided they were going to do a preemptive strike. Now, that's not the only thing that they have an issue with. Is they have an issue with, I guess they call it what Bibi Netanyahu calls Iran the head of the octopus. There's so much regional stuff going on throughout the region. We'll get to that here in a second, but they have influence all over the Middle East. And up until this point, Israel had been doing strikes in Syria because it's believed that Iran had proxies in Syria. They had been doing stuff in Yemen. They had been stuff with Houthis and all that type of stuff. They did first strike. And when they did that strike, of course, it was a devastating thing for the Iran people, I would assume. I don't live there, but that's something they think about. And according to President Trump, we knew all about it. That's one reason why we did pull out of the region non-essential personnel when we did. So President Trump told Reuters on Friday, June 13th, that we knew everything. Trump tells Reuters about Israel's strike on Iran. U.S.-Iran nuclear talks uncertain after the Israeli strikes. So according to reports that Reuters has and CNN has, is that President Trump gave Iran a 60-day ultimatum. He was basically holding back the pit bull, which is Israel, to come up to some type of nuclear, I don't know, deal or whatever. And maybe they didn't do it. Trump convened advisors at Camp David for Iran discussions. Trump says he gave 60 days for a deal. Deadline passed. And then they started getting the smoke. But it's not that simple, though, because although Israel decided to do first strike, and they definitely did lay down some carnage when it came to striking in Iran, we're still kind of their armor. We're still kind of their defense contractor, for lack of a better term. But some of the first strikes that we saw in the region when it came to Iran, taking out key military leaders, and that's the thing that I think is the thing that kind of has Iran the most heated when it comes to those target assassinations and some of the stuff that happened here. Look at this video. Whole building on fire. So they had a Iranian Student Association News. They were doing a lot of reporting on the ground on Twitter, and they were kind of like, they started that rhetoric of martyr, calling the general that was taken out a martyr, and I think they're going to run with that language. I think he said they fucked our shit up. Israel did a preemptive strike to Iran. We knew, at least a lot of us thought, that there could be a retaliatory strike that could happen coming back from Iran. Now, you got to remember, in October of last year, Iran launched nearly 200 missiles towards Israel. I think fewer than a dozen hit, maybe like 6 or maybe none hit at all. This time they launched less than 100. And this time I believe that their strikes were a little bit more effective. Check this out.
Is that the U.S. has assisted Israel in defending and intercepting Iranian ballistic missiles. We don't know quite the details yet of what assets were involved or how many missiles were intercepted, but we do know that the U.S. does have at least 2 destroyers with ballistic missile defense systems out in the eastern Mediterranean earlier this morning.
And that's the thing, is like that they admitted, the U.S. admitted that they helped out, according to defensenews.com, they helped with the defending of those missiles that came from Iran that were targeting Israeli sites. So you have the Iron Dome, which we help fund for Israel. We have our some of our destroyers and other type of ships in the Mediterranean Sea, which has ballistic missiles that could be fired from their vessels. And even with all of that, and we're looking here at F-18 Super Hornet, even with all of that, still some things got through and we're still able to bring devastation to Israel itself. Check this out. One more time. Hold on. That is what you call a hypersonic missile. It hit Tel Aviv, Israel. So there's a lot of stuff going on that I wanted to kind of wrap you up and kind of give you a summary of what's going on overall. So Israel already doing strikes in Syria, doing stuff with Yemen, doing stuff with proxies. And now they had a lot of intelligence side of Iran. They had a lot of intelligence that gave them everything that they need to do those very, very precise attacks. And here's the issue that I am very, very concerned about is the U.S. involvement in this whole thing. Because if we're perceived to be big bro, then people like me, people like you, we have issues when it comes to our economic stability, cyber attacks, and other things that I want to talk to you guys about, which really, really makes me concerned. First, the economic impact, which is already starting to happen. President Trump is very upset that oil prices are already rising. They went up 4% yesterday. They're expected to go up another 7% possibly today, but that's not 100% been confirmed. But imagine that. Instability in the region, 4%. We can go back to the days of $100 barrel gas. I remember I had a Cadillac. I told this story on a live stream last night. I had a 1991 Cadillac Coupe de Ville, which I thoroughly loved, and I drove that thing for a long time. And the thing that kind of threw me off, that kind of just always made me draw pause when it came to that car, is that it cost so much money to fill this bad boy up. I drove this thing till the wheels fell off, but I remember a $100 barrel gas, and it cost me $4.30 something cents per gallon to fill this up. And I was supposed to fill it up with premium, but I didn't. That's an economic impact that we could be heading back to when it comes to the stuff that's going on in the Middle East. But it's not just because missile strike happens, oil prices go up. It's not that simple. The fears are that the Strait of Hormuz could be closed by Iran. Now, technically, they can't, quote unquote, close the Strait of Hormuz because they share those waters with UAE and Oman, but they could still interrupt and possibly try to do it anyhow. So one thing we have to remember is that if we look here, Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Iran all have oil fields in the inner part of their country. So does Saudi Arabia. And once they're done getting that oil out the ground, I don't know if they refine it or if they just mine it there, but they put it on ships in the Persian Gulf or the Arabian Gulf, depending on which country you are. and what you'd like to call it. And then guess where it goes? It goes through the Strait of Hormuz, and it goes around Oman, and it normally goes to the Gulf of Aden, to the Bab el Mandeb. I can't pronounce that, near Djibouti. Yemen is thinking about closing that strait. And if both of those things happen and we can no longer get oil to the Suez Canal through the Mediterranean Sea heading towards Europe and to America, oil prices will go up. Scarcity could be a thing. If we're only getting oil from our own production and from South America, oil prices go up. So we have to think about, what are the odds of something like that happening? We already have many oil tanker owners reluctant to brave the Strait of Hormuz. This is today, 6 hours ago, they reported this, where it is people that own these ships, because a lot of the ships are not necessarily owned by the countries. The countries mine it. People are paying for the barrels. That's why the countries are super filthy rich, but they don't own a lot of the freighters, the actual ships that are taking these stuff. These container ships are owned a lot by different companies, some of them out of Dubai, some of them that are stationed in these different countries, but they don't know how they feel about going through the Strait of Hormuz and being attacked or being not allowed to permit it to go through, and their crew being jeopardized or whatever. That's the type of stuff that brings possible economic impact to us, influencing or closing down of trade routes, influencing oil prices. Those are two things that could literally make the shit hit the fan because of our prices going up. The financial markets are already reacting to this type of stuff, where stuff is fluctuating, but the financial markets react to everything. I'm not necessarily 100% telling you to run and take a look at your 401k, but I am telling you that you need to think about cyber warfare and infrastructure. I told you about my channel sponsor, Aura. They're not sponsoring this video, but I'm not being facetious or funny when I say I use Aura to monitor all my stuff. I am going to link down below a link so you can check out Aura, but you can use one of their competitors. Okay, go out there and look at somebody else, but you need somebody that can monitor to see if they see your information on the dark web, if they see your information being used by data brokers. You want somebody that can get you possibly a VPN, and you want somebody that's going to help you recover if they have some type of insurance or some type of like liability program, that if you are jeopardized, they can help you shut down your credit or get your identity back or something like that. Okay, I love Aura. I've been using them for over a year. They started as a channel sponsor, and then I liked them. Then I started paying for it. So, and like, this is this type of stuff I actually like to use. So if you want to check them out, then you're more than welcome. You can get a 14 free trial down below. I'm mentioning them because cyber warfare right now has been heavily between Iran and Israel. Israel has been using their capabilities to disable stuff inside of Iran, nuclear sites, scientific brainiacs, missile, military sites, anything that can mess up their infrastructure. Israel has been using their brainiac hackers to do the same thing to Iranians. But Iran really believes that we're big brother. They really believe that we're big bro. And if they believe we're big bro, why would they not eventually allow their hacker brainiacs to start messing with our infrastructure and doing cyber attacks here in the United States? That is something that I think about. Increase cyber attacks to go beyond just those two countries themselves. Disruption of services. I don't want my fiber messed with, but not being facetious. Okay, I don't want communication blackouts. I don't want anything messed up with my banks. I don't want anything messed up with me being able to identify myself, affecting my daily life, power outages. Everything we do is connected to the World Wide Web. Hackers and their brainiacs can figure out how to mess with that. And as we go further and further into this, we have the possibility to have to worry about cybersecurity and cyber attacks. But that also leads me to domestic and social impact. So I talked about resource scarcity. That's a real thing. Those trade routes being blocked, oil, all that good stuff. But that's also resource scarcity for the ones that we love. Take a look at this map. In the U.S. military presence in the Middle East, between 40 and 50,000 troops are across 19 sites. Senator Rand Paul for years has shitted over how many bases we have around the world. I kind of agree with him. I understand. I do believe in peace through strength and also peace through soft power. Soft power is like we pay for roads in some third world country, or we make sure a bunch of kids don't have AIDS, or we feed a bunch of people. That's soft power. We're there, and we don't have to lean on that country, or that country won't become on the dark side because we're feeding them. But we do have a lot of bases, okay? And think about this. We have stuff in Cyprus, beautiful, Lebanon, that's okay, Israel, Jordan, Gaza, Djibouti, Oman, Qatar, Bahrain, several in Kuwait. We have a few locations in Saudi Arabia, Iraq, all that stuff to keep us ready for any of those countries that start with a Stan, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, etc., and for Iran. But we have 40,000 people plus their support civilians and their spouses and kids if they're over there as well. We can be drugged into a kinetic fight because Iran decides one of their ballistic hypersonic missiles goes off course, or they purposely attack one of our sites. You don't want to wake up a sleeping giant, but now we're big bro. We are big bro. And now we have to worry about that type of stuff. Resource scarcity when it comes to stuff, but our loved ones as well. Something I think about. Increased security measures. The force protection levels when it comes to bases around the world, I predict are going to be raised. We may not know about that for the most part since 2024. The force protection levels, that is the force protection levels that commanders like Northern Command, Central Command, etc., they give those to military sites around the world. So right now, a lot of the military sites are Bravo. There's normal, Bravo, Delta, blah, 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 blah. But if we go up to the heights of like Delta or something like that, and we're increasing our force protection, that's an indicator that we are concerned about lone wolves and those that want to attack us with terrorism. I want you to pay attention to force protection levels, FP cons, all that type of stuff when it comes to our military sites. If they release that, sometimes they don't disclose that information, but thinking about that as well. And when you raise increased security levels to federal property, buildings, and military sites, that can frustrate people. OK, if they're frustrated that they don't have access to the Social Security office, if they don't have access to the VA hospital as easily, it can lead to social and civil unrest. I'm telling you all this stuff, not because I'm saying we're going into World War III. If you follow creators and they lead with we're going into World War III, not telling you not to watch them, but say X to doubt. I'm telling you the other things that could be affected through a war between these two countries as it stands right now. This can die down in 2 weeks. It could. It may. But if it doesn't, I want you to be cautious and think about everything that could be impacted when it comes to this stuff, because it's not as simple as ABC. It's not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. I think it goes beyond that. And a lot of times as we sit here in America and we just have shit show up and shit just always works, I want you to know why things aren't working and why you may consider stockpiling certain things, getting things that you need right now. I don't know if you have stuff that goes through the Suez Canal, if it goes through that strait that's between Djibouti and Yemen, I can't pronounce it, or if you have anything that comes through the Strait of Hormuz. I don't know what you would have coming out of any of those Gulf states other than oil. But if you're one of those guys, okay, I don't know, this might be the time you think about ensuring that you have enough of that, or the company that you use it for has enough of that type of stuff. Listen, if this is your first time stopping by, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you part of the battalion. I like talking about this stuff, not because I like to shake the fan and shake the shit, but I'm trying to use my experience as a prior Marine and understanding how this infrastructure could work. And as you look at other prepper channels and SHTF channels, I want you to really think about, what are they telling you? Are they just telling you a war could be happening and to get your guns and make sure you got 30-round mags? That may be good advice, but I want you to understand what else could be impacted if we continue to be big bro for Israel, and we should support Israel. I do believe that. But think about the consequences of us supporting Israel. If this is your first time stopping by, as mentioned, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you part of the battalion. If this is not your first time stopping by, well, thank you once again for watching me run my grape. For everyone else, we'll speak soon.